Okay, so I'm in the middle of watching the movie Blood Diamond and thinking about how it has affected, well, the gun world and my own personal builds. And I want to talk about it. So, my buddy Blazer and I constantly talk about the movie Blood Diamond and Blood Diamond guns. It's one of the things that we talk about. This gun, the Loki, is meant to be a Blood Diamond-ish gun. Like, it's meant to be a gun out of Africa. That's why the paint job, okay? That's why, like, some of the retro shit. I really, I don't know, I miss it having the scope-type scope on it instead of a red dot. Someday, when I have more AR-15s, this might get another Weaver Caspa or something to put on it. Like, it's kind of cool that it had a scope. It was like the Blood Diamond Recce or something like that. Because like the scope I had on it wasn't exactly, super whiz bang. It was kind of an older scope. So eventually I'd like to kind of replicate that again. But for now, like, I don't know. I think that this gun is better with a red dot on it. It's much more like a Blood Diamond rifle with a red dot on it. It's just we did an A3 upper for fucking cost savings, basically. I don't know. I'm gonna get a different mount for this red dot eventually. I might camo it before then. I might wait till I get the new mount to camo it, and then I want to get a magnifier for this thing. Once we have that set up, then I might worry about getting extra scopes or whatever. But I also want to upgrade the scope on Moon Tiger, and then it could get its original scope back, but it's been kind of modified. But I kind of want to recamo this gun anyway. And I'm kind of thinking about doing gray and green on everything. That way it all matches. I think gray and green is a pretty good look. It's kind of like Red Dawn camo meets Tiger Stripe. Because like the Red Dawn camo was kind of like white and green looking. At least like the stuff the Russians were wearing. I don't know. There's a part of me that likes having different painted guns. Like, it's cool to me to have different flavors. I'm basically just desperately trying to defend not repainting Loki because, like, I do like its paint job. But on the other hand, I also acknowledge the fact that it is not the most camouflaged rifle in the world. In fact, it's anti-flaged. It's got yellow stripes on it. It is dope, though, man. And it's going to lose some of that Africa vibe if I repaint. I really like... I think I'm going to lean in more to this being my Blood Diamond gun. Because it really was. That's why it had this paint job. Like, for a home defense gun, I don't think it really fucking matters. But, like, the thing is, it's kind of an everything gun. For an everything gun, it kind of matters. I don't know. I still dig it. I also really dig the gray and green. Oh. Not to mention, on this one, we got the fabric camo going on the scope now, which maybe we could add even a little bit more of that. But I think it makes it look cool, especially on like that scope. It filled in some of the empty holes and shit through the mount. I just think the scopes look better when they don't have holes through the mounts. Call me crazy. Moon Tiger, I am setting up to be an M16. And like maybe Loki will eventually get a 20-inch barrel someday too, but I don't know. I go back and forth on that. There's a part of me that says with our current conflicts and shit going on, basically everything should have a 20-inch barrel. Especially like in a civilian role. Like, I don't know. I think it does make sense to have one CQB gun and one kind of longer engagement gun. But for realistic shit that you might be using these for, having everything with a 20-inch barrel so that everything hits a little bit harder, I think is wise. I don't know. It's a trade-off. Everything's a trade-off, right? I just don't think it's that big of a trade-off to go to a 20-inch. It's like I've already taken away the advantage of short barrels with their bullshit laws and jumping back and forth and whatever. It's not a game I want to play anyway. I don't know. I might just keep the low-key camo the way it is. Like I said, it's kind of cool to have like a variety. That's why I like that this thing's green and black mostly. I need to kind of fix this portion of it. You can't see. Doesn't matter. I tried to do a Mandalorian skull thing and it kind of failed. I'd like to clean all that out and fucking respray with some green maybe or something. It's kind of just meant to be fucked up stripes, so cleaning out the parts of it that look kind of weird from the Mandalorian skull will do a lot for it. Not to mention, there's like, when I went to spray that, the can missprayed, so it came out almost flat dark earth on that section of it. And I hate it. So, I'm going to clean off the fucking skull and then put some tape over it and then shoot it with some fucking green again. Me and my like cut up, spray painted, customized Fluxrator. You gotta admit though, most Fluxrators don't look like they've been used. Mine looks like it's been used. Anyway, back to Blood Diamond guns. For those not in the know, we're fucking 10 minutes into this. Blood Diamond AR-15 is kind of a XM177 style gun brought into the modern era. That basically it was in Africa in the 90s and people bolted shit to it. Maybe even early 2000s. And like, to me, that's what Loki really reminds me of, is like an early 2000s kind of build. Like, it's, especially now that it's got a fixed stock and shit with the KE arms lower. It even reminds me more of being old school. I kind of like having guns that remind me, at least, of classic M16s. Oh, those are the ARs I like. If you just had me buy AR-15s for my own personal pleasure, it would be all Vietnam guns and M16A2s. Maybe a couple others. There's a handful of like the all of these like 90s carbines. The Vickers carbine, the fucking one from Blood Diamond, the yada yada yada. It would be all that kind of shit. That would be what I would fuck around with. And Loki is just like the budget interpretation of that. Moon Tiger is my own little experiment, and I don't know. It's making lemonade out of lemons for sure, but also at the same time, I wanted to make a 20-inch gun for the modern era. Something really lightweight with correctly weighted optics. Like, a lot of people put really heavy glass on shit and it ruins fucking guns. It's one of the things I like about that little Weaver scope that I put on Moon Tiger. And I don't know what I'm going to replace it with. Like, I really would like to do like a Vortex 1-8 that seems to be affordable. And it would legitimately enhance the capabilities of that gun. But at the same time, I kind of like my Weaver 2-7, and that's a $500 scope, so I'm not going to be in a hurry to do that. I think people overestimate the value of true one power and illumination. But I would like to have a fucking 1 to 8 illuminated scope on that thing versus an unilluminated 2 to 7. But at the same time, like, I'm going to have that in my shit because, like, that is a scope that I'm guessing is going to weigh about a half a pound less than that Vortex. So, you know, it might be handy to have. There's a part of me that says get a 45-degree red dot for the 2 to 7. You call it good. Might just do that too. Because in reality, like, 2 to 7 pretty much covers what the 1 to 8 does, short of the close-up shit, right? So adding a fucking always-on 1 power micro optic makes sense. I don't know what I would get for that. I would just say get a Holosun 403R, but, like, honestly, I think that would be kind of heavy. I think there are lighter weight options. Holosun has that little, like, Glock slide thing that's solar powered. One of those would be interesting. Wonder if you can get a rifle adapter for that thing. I'm literally talking like, let's go real tiny. Either that or get a mount that has a spot to put fucking optics on it. On like the top. You know, get a mount that has 1913 rails at the 12 o'clock. Then you could just direct attach a fucking Holosun at the 12 o'clock. And that would definitely have its advantages. That may be the future of this gun. I don't know. I also saw a Sig Sauer optic that I really fucking want. It's fucking $1,000. It's a 2 to 12 by 40. And it has a spot for a red dot. That, if you gave me, you know, unlimited funds right now, Moon Tiger would have that scope. Although I'm kind of, like, leery of the Sig optics. They made the perfect thing. Like, it also looks kind of heavy. And this is where, like, you don't want to carry around more glass than you need. I don't know. The playing around with putting a red dot on my current scope would cost half of what doing a 1 to 8 would. The 1 to 8 is a lot trimmer of a way to solve that problem, I think most people would admit. I don't know. I will probably get a micro dot to add to this fucking scope. I really like the scope. And the thing that it's missing is night capability and a 1 power. And doing a fucking red dot on it would solve a lot of that shit, because basically you'd only really want to have a scope when it was bright enough to see the crosshairs. That's the reality of it. The whole true 1 power with an illuminated reticle thing is a kludge. Honestly, I would rather have iron sights than that. I know that's not most people, but that's me. And this is where I see, no matter what I do, getting a 2 to whatever and putting a dot on it, I think might be the better way for me to go. Provided you can do it light enough. That Sig had a fucking, like, spot directly milled into the top of the fucking scope for one of their red dots. So someone at Sig thinks a lot along the same lines as me. Basically, why bother with having a 1 power setting? Especially since in today's day and age we keep mounting our red dots higher and higher and higher. What I'm talking about doing is basically mounting the red dot high and having enough room underneath that you have a scope mounted too. Anyway, that doesn't have dick to do with fucking Blood Diamond, but that movie has kind of affected the industry to some extent, I think, though, because, like, everybody I know likes that movie and wants that gun. Like, a bunch of our current retro craziness, to be honest, I still think is partially my fault. There were several years there on Instagram where everyone who is fucking making gun content for you now was following me on Instagram and drooling over my fucking pictures. And I like me some retro AR-15s. I pumped a lot of that shit out into the gun community en masse. When I did my retro AR-15 video, it has so many views because it was one of the only videos longer than a couple of minutes long discussing the topic. And I think I failed miserably making that video, as I usually do. Basically, I do this radio show kind of thing here pretty well. And I could make you a kit or a rifle and kind of do you a tabletop down video on it. But as far as other than that, without more of a production staff and someone that knows how to edit, there's not much more to this show. And, you know, I could learn how to edit. I've edited before. I just don't care to. This shit isn't worth that. I'm only really doing this because it's so easy. Anyway, I put considerably more effort into that retro AR-15 video, though, than this. I kind of think this is cool because it's like a daily podcast where, like, if you like the kind of shit that I like, I talk about a bunch of the same shit. It varies from, like, crazy aliens shit to, like, crazy religious shit to, hey, AR-15s. But, you know, I kind of figure that, like, the Christian people don't get that they're being scary to some people when they fucking talk about, I don't know, a lot of the shit that they talk about while holding a gun. So, like, why not? You know, maybe they should be scared back. That's some of this, for sure. Like, every fucking gun channel on fucking YouTube is fucking, like, churchy as fuck. I have a church or whatever. These are my views. You know, stay the fuck out my way. I hope I scare you people too. I feel like no matter what comes next in this world, it's not going to be good. There's a whole lot of not good coming from, I'm guessing, the better part of 5 years. I think it's funny that, like, the time of tribulation was 7 years, right? If you count since the start of all this, I guess it's been 2. What if this is the tribulation? What if our society has evolved to the point that this is what Ragnarok and the tribulation and shit looks like? Like, the weather's kind of gotten a little crazy. The crops have kind of gone bad. But, like, to be honest, we're a long way from us being starving here in the U.S. I think Africa is going to go fucking hungry. I don't know what we do about that. There's a whole bunch of places around the world that are not, you know, either politically powerful or someplace that provides a service or food or whatever that, like, we've been living off a fatted calf for many years on this planet. I think bitch died. Africa's going to get the shortest end of the stick because it always does. I guess this is what this has to do with Blood Diamond. It's like watching that movie. It's like, man, all that same shit's happening times 10 right now with Victor Bout getting out of prison or whatever. That's why Russia wants him back. That's what he does for them. Go watch Blood Diamond. What all of the shit that they're doing in that movie to sell weapons for diamonds and shit, like that's the kind of shit that he was involved hip deep in. And you know, I really think that basically what's happening right now is we've started another Cold War. The world's gone, you know, even more bipolar than it already was. I don't know if we'll ever fucking pull the trigger or not, but I think, you know, we're in for some dark days of the Cold War ahead of us. Bad economies, no trade, no jobs, foreign wars. We're going to be in wars just for the money of it. Not to mention we're going to need to employ people. Well, anyway, I hope you guys are having a cheerier time than me. I think I'm going to go back to watching Blood Diamond. If you've not watched that movie, you should. It's a popular movie amongst gun people for a reason. It's a good one. And it has a lot of good guns in it. And if you want to see more about the carbine in that movie, I think it's Administrative Results has a whole clone of it that he does videos on. You know. Not that I've been there myself. I've totally been there myself. Not with that particular gun, but with other guns. I cloned the Larry Vickers gun, whatever it was, the Colt 723 or whatever. I cloned that gun, but without all the Larry Vickers add-ons. I kind of wish I still had it. It was, you know, one of the last clone rifles I really did. I think clone rifles can be cool, assuming that you don't go fucking crazy about it. Like, if you go spending $1,200 to get the right charging handle for your clone, god damn it, man. You could have had a fluctuator and cut the brace off. Been a legend. See you guys later.